pain and passion. Trying to ration out these gems I hold. The tongue gold, kinda soul like Motown. The flow 4 pound. Watch them get down like a jukebox. This is loot talk. The zoot suit walk. Raised on UGK, Scarface, Big Nas and Pac.
Man, it's your man Legend, Lejend. Don't forget the J. North Dallas, always represent that all day. You know what I mean? I got American History X, my EP out right now. And it's crazy because I dropped that like maybe in March, you know, and then not really knowing that all this stuff was gonna happen. And I promise you, if you listen to that CD, I'm kind of talking about like, and I didn't really even do it on purpose. It was just what was on my mind at the time. You know, I was talking about what was to come, and even I was listening to it like, man, it was just really God to help me write them words, because there's no way I could have predicted, you know, what was going on, because I had wrote it, you know, sometime last year. You know what I mean? So.
And that's the thing. I'm actually gonna get with you on that, because I saw you got past, present, future. You know what I'm saying? And
man, bro, really, like the way the concept came to me, it really, a lot of my stuff is not really even me. I just feel like I'm a vessel, because the way that came to me is like past, present, and future. I was just trying to basically say with that album, like what we're dealing with now is just we still living in the past, and there's this future we're trying to get to, and that past and future, bam, it's colliding right here in the present, and you seeing all this chaos because we didn't attend to past things. And I'm not talking about white folks, white folks too, but black folks, we didn't attend to things either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. But there's this future that everybody wants, but we have to do certain things in order to get to that. So I'm just basically talking about that gap. Why is that gap there?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Man, and that's interesting, bro, because we are in some interesting times right now, you know, and those type of records are needed. Social commentary is needed, you know, and with you, the way you do it, because it's American history, right?
It's American History X, you know what I mean? And really why I called it that is because it was just really things that we didn't learn in school, because we learned history in school, right? But it was, you know, it was from somebody else's perspective. Right. It wasn't from the perspective that I know as a young black kid, you know. But the thing is, I didn't realize at the time until I got older, so I realized like, man, Columbus didn't discover America, and you know, Francis Scott Key, when he wrote the national anthem, he was a slave owner. Like, why ain't they tell me this in school? Right. But you know, you wouldn't tell nobody that if you trying to paint this picture of America like they try to paint it, like, you know, everything's equal, all lives matter, that type of thing. But, you know, and I don't have no problem with that, but I'm saying, you know, I want to live like that too. I want to live in this fantasy America, but let's work on the things that we need to work on so we can live in that America. Right. I don't have anything against that, but let's be realistic. You know, when I turn on social media and I see, you know, black U.S. citizens being brutalized by people who swore oath to serve and protect, that's a bit disturbing to me, you know what I mean? And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, don't taxpayers pay police a salary? So it just feel like, I pay you but you gonna beat me? That don't sound right. You know what I mean? So, man. I mean, I think this is the time when if you really believe in what's right, this is the time when you speak up. And this ain't no black or white thing, no matter who you are. Right. If you know what's right and you believe in what's right, this is the time to just speak up. And you may be scared, you know what I mean? Because it can be scary to speak up during these times, because you see people peacefully protesting and they still get tear gassed. So, I mean, this is a scary time, but I really believe if you know what's right, it's time to speak up, because that's what I'm gonna do, you know, regardless of what any fears I have, you know what I mean? Right. Because I got kids, and you know, we won't be here forever. Right. So what type of world we're gonna leave for our sons and daughters, nieces and nephews, things like that. That's what I really look at.
Okay. So let's go back, man. Let's go back. So let's start from the beginning. So you born and raised here?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Dallas. Man, I've been doing music for about 2005. Shout out to my man Champ Mathley. He put me in the game. He did my first album, you know, Unconditional. He did the artwork, he did the beats, mixed and mastered and everything. So, and I mean, it's been a journey, man. I've been able to work with Head Crack. I've been able to work with Opio from Souls of Mischief, Planet Asia, Don Will from Tanya Morgan. I've been making music and close friends with my man Architect, and if y'all don't know who that is, he done work with Planet Asia, Opio. He's a Souls of Mischief DJ when they go overseas. He's a good friend of mine, and he's imparted you know, so much knowledge to me. So to be able to come this far. And for me, I don't think it's really about money. This is something I did this. I've always done this anyway. You know, making music.
When you in high school and everything,
I was always into hip hop music, and so it was never something that I was like, man, let me hit a lick and start rapping. You know what I mean? It was never like that. It was just always me rapping and having fun, and people saying, hey man, that stuff you was talking about, that was kind of deep. Because I always prided myself in, because the music I grew up on, it was music that showed you something. When I first started listening to music, like you know, you was talking about earlier, like UGK, I could honestly say like UGK, you know, Wu-Tang, Scarface. But see, I grew up at a time too where, you know, if you was in the South, you it wasn't no East, West Coast, nothing like that. It wasn't enough of them to be East or West Coast. It was just rap music.
Right.
You know, you was just, I didn't know where dudes is from. I was just listening to it like, man, these black dudes, and they trying to come with a message. That's how I saw it when I was growing up. Yeah. So it was powerful to me for, man, these dudes is speaking to people everywhere, all over the world, bro. I'm out here in Dallas and they were in New York, or they down there in Houston, and they speaking to me and they speaking a message. So I mean, cats like that, UGK, you know, Ice Cube, Wu-Tang, that was really the first time where I saw how powerful hip hop was. Like, man, these dudes, because you gotta think about, Ice Cube was talking about police brutality back in like early 90s, bro. You know what I mean?
That's crazy, because you know what, like, and I looked at that because it was a interview with him, Easy, I think Dre. You know what I'm saying? Or may have been Ren, one of them. But they were talking about fuck the police. You know what I'm saying? And they was asked, I think they asked Easy about it, you know what I'm saying, why the record and this, that, and the third.
Exactly.
And it's crazy stuff that he was saying and the reasoning behind it, the same shit that's going on 30 years later.
Bruh.
You know what I'm saying?
Isn't that crazy?
And it's like, have we really moved anywhere?
Bruh, I was just having that conversation, like, but that's what I'm talking about, that pretty picture of America.
Yeah.
Like, obviously black people live better than what we did 50, 60 years ago. I mean, that's without a doubt.
Right.
But with that being said, like you said, 30, what was this? When we said interview party, was that in early 91, 92? Bruh, it's 2020, bruh, and we still talking about the same exact thing.
Niggas still getting hung. Bruh.
So it's just like, when you look at things from that perspective, you really have to ask, you know, how far have we come? And I'm not talking about cars and clothes and houses. You know, I'm talking about internally, like our mind state and our habits. Where are those at? Because it's like, really, it seems like America is still the same place that it's always been. It's just like they allow us to do more, but then they backdoor it with something else that makes it seem like, well, it ain't as sweet as you think it is. Because like I was
gonna give you this internet freedom, but then we got this other security over here that you can't do this too much. You can't go. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I was telling my part, like I was telling you earlier about the Lincoln statue and about just knowing everything about these gentlemen that we celebrate. You're putting up a statue and you're saying that he freed every black person from slavery, but that's just a piece of the story. You're not. Let me have the whole story so I can decide if I want to celebrate this gentleman and have this dude, you know, build a statue in the middle of my city. You know what I mean? And the thing is, psychological warfare is an aspect that they used against us, and that's the most prevalent aspect that they use to this day. And see, those statues are part of psychological warfare, because if I can put a statue there of a person that oppressed you and keep that there for hundreds of years and say, oh man, this guy was glorious, look at him. You know what I mean? Imagine how much mental trauma that is on you to say, oh, this person beat and enslaved my grandfathers and my ancestors, but yet we celebrate him, and I want you to celebrate him as well. You know what I mean?
And then they say, oh, slavery was a long time ago. Like we just supposed to forget.
Yeah, but see, but like I was saying earlier, that just comes from people who haven't read and educated themselves. There's a book and a documentary called Slavery by Another Name, and it speaks about what happened to African Americans after we were released. They put in black codes, they put in a lot of different laws that put us back into slavery. You know what I mean? And then see, the laws weren't where we could go and say, hey, get you a lawyer and sue somebody. It wasn't like that back then. Because they were still just coming to terms with the fact that they were going to even free us. You know what I mean? Because that blew most people's mind. And you realize we celebrate Juneteenth here in the South is because we didn't know about it until 2 years later. You know what I mean? And there's a documentary on Vice there was slavery here in America up to 1959, if I'm not mistaken.
Damn.
People were enslaved, and it's a documentary that everybody can go watch, because I don't drop jewels without giving the sources, so you can see for yourself. You can go see this on Vice, because there was a lady, she's a genealogist, she's called the Slavery Detective.
Okay.
And she looks at black people's history. And there's a gentleman, she looked at his history, and I think this is in Florida or Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken. And she spoke with a gentleman, and this was after they had been freed. He said he worked for a white gentleman, and then the lady asked him, well, why didn't you just leave? He said, if you left, they will hunt you down, bring you back, and you'd have to work. And if you didn't want that, they would tell you to dig your own grave and put you in it. And this was happening from 1950 to 1959, bruh.
Damn.
So it's just like, it's a lot of, but see, the thing is, it's a lot of information it's a lot of information to take down and a lot of information to sift through, but I pride myself in, just reading things and so that I can share with my brothers and my sisters, because that's, my father always told me, that's how they'll hide it from you. They'll put it in the book, because we don't really like to read much. And
see, that's one of the things, bro. I was talking on the book with someone, and they were like, people generally don't care about history. You can't make people care about history. I'm like, that should be something that people want to. Black people in particular, we should want to know our history.
Yeah.
Again, we want to ask for things, reparations and whatnot. How we gonna ask for what we don't know we lost?
Exactly, and you know how, as a prime example of how we don't have no idea about our history. I always see black people say, "Oh, that's white," or white people invented that. But then if you do the real history, a black person actually invented that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But just during those times, white people took credit for everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
because they had the money to go and do this and do that,
and then society was just set up for them to do that. Because if you say, oh, back then in the 50s, 60s, Percy Julian, he's responsible for creating the blood transfusion, and he was a black scientist and a doctor. But see, a lot of times if you read, maybe they've corrected it in maybe the last year or so, they'll tell you that another white doctor that he worked closely with invented the blood transfusion. But there's a documentary, and I forgot the name of it, I'll provide it for people, that says that he actually did it, but that gentleman, the white one, he took credit for it, because during that time they couldn't imagine a black man being smarter than a white doctor and inventing the blood transfusion. But don't you know that Percy Julian died because he couldn't get a blood transfusion? And he's the one who invented it, bruh. Just because during those times they wasn't catering to black people like that, wasn't giving them good medical.
And see, that goes back into what we were talking about earlier with the medical field. You know what I'm saying?
It's about money, bro. It's about money.
All about money.
It's all about money.
What I'm saying?
But I know I had got off base a little bit.
No, you good, man.
But I'm gonna come back to the music. But the reason why we talked about all these other things is because my music is just a platform for conversation and dialogue, and I never want to alienate anybody, because I love black people and I respect black people, and I always support black people. Sometimes even when they do wrong, I don't support their actions, but I'll support the actual person. But what's going on right now, it's beyond just black people. We need everybody on deck, because right now this is something that could honestly just destroy America, because racism really affects America just from a financial, an emotional, and mental standpoint. And the thing is, people don't even see it a lot of times. They don't even see it, because a lot of the issues, if you look at the root of them, some component of it has to do with racism, because someone wanted to keep somebody else down and created another problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and I mean, that's what I've been making this type of music honestly for a long time. But I think that just due to the times, people paid attention to my music, on a high level. But I think that it's maybe ramped up probably just more because people are looking for more quote unquote conscious music. You know what I mean?
It's time, because people not going to clubs. You know what I'm saying? They got time to really sit and really soak in. You know what I'm saying? So who are some of your influences, bro?
Like I said, Wu-Tang, Nas, but I think also people like Malcolm X and Richard Wright, James Baldwin,
Right.
they were black authors, you know what I mean? Those people inspired me too, because those were like the MCs of their time, you know what I mean? Because they wrote a lot of poetry, and they wrote about a lot of things that black people went through from a perspective that a lot of times people didn't even realize that man, black people can write like this. This is some of the most amazing literature in American history is really written by black people. You know what I'm saying? Because who's had more experiences in America than black people?
Right.
You know what I mean? That have been just totally crazy.
Right.
Like the stuff we have to deal with on a daily basis. Like we basically have to deal with racism being shoved in our face every second and smile about it and then carve out some type of way to be successful. You know what I mean? And people will disagree with that, but I can show you 100 points of why black people have to deal with racism on a daily basis. Because a lot of times it's like say,
a lot of times we don't even know.
We don't even know, bro. We it's so prevalent now. We support it and don't even know it. Even myself. That's why I like to study and read, because once you find out, you go, oh, okay, well, let me not do that. Oh, this company contributes to the Trump campaign, or this company, the owner of this company used to be a part of the KKK member. Okay, bet I know that now. Let me not deal with that company anymore. Just stuff like that. But see, the thing is, black people, we have economics. It's our greatest weapon. Like, our dollar, the black dollar is the most powerful thing here in America.
We don't understand that.
We can shut down corporations and companies like that if we wanted to.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like Nike, bruh. We could run Nike into the ground.
Yep.
Like if every black person for a week didn't purchase anything Nike, I'm talking about from Monday to Friday, you didn't purchase nothing.
And stock will drop.
Bruh, come on. I'm talking about worldwide. Like, and I know that probably won't ever happen, but imagine if something like that happened. I think people will really be like, oh, yo, we need not to play with these people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I know one thing, my pops was telling me, when you start hitting people in the pocket, people start to pay attention.
So let me ask you this. What do you think about the companies now that are making adjustments according to how they deal with their policies with racism and donating money to, you know, certain organizations and things like that, and being, I guess, more cognizant of their African American counterparts? Do you see it as a genuine act? Do you see it as an act of why is it now happening? Or is it something that they don't have a choice but to do going forward based on the climate?
Well, that's a good point, bro. I ain't really think about that. I mean, I think at this current time, I don't think they have any choice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? From a PR standpoint, you know what I mean? Because right now, like, if you work for a prominent company and you get on social media and say something about black people, they're gonna ask you that day. Yeah. It just happened because I seen it. I seen it like a million times. There's a page where people are getting asked.
It was a company right here in Glen Heights.
I saw that. That was on.
They done canned them today.
Valvoline oil. Valvoline oil. They said we ain't servicing them no more. You know what I mean? That quick. That happened one day, and then Valvoline put out that statement the next day. We heard of this racial situation. We're not providing them with no more oil because we don't support that. But the thing about it, as a black person, it's just kind of like one of those things where I like it, but I think it's something we got to be aware of. You know what I'm saying? Is this gonna be? Is this just a trend, or is this an actual shift in how things are gonna be done here in America? You know what I mean? Are we just, are we just gonna? Are we gonna just get all the black faces to represent us now?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just to appease us and make us happy. Like, Geico Insurance, they got about 10 black commercials, man.
And see, that's what I don't want to happen, because it
gets you complacent.
Exactly. It's a systematic situation. If you need to, it's just like with police brutality and everything else. If the system doesn't change, like, you can go fire every motherfucking police officer you want to and bring some more people in, but if that same system is in place,
that culture's still there.
It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
But bro, I'm really honestly torn between that, because I want to feel like that's progress, but is that surface progress, or is it something that we can really grab a hold of? Because my thing is this is how I look at progress. Is this something that my sons can benefit from?
Right.
Because now it's cool to say, put black people on TV and say we don't support this, that, and the third. But like you were talking about earlier, why should you care about history? Because history gives you an insight to people's behavior. Because the thing is, if the company just yesterday changed their policy and that company's been around for 80 years, what have they been doing for the last 79 years? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, you know, that's how my mind thinks. So sometimes I wonder, like, I should be happy for this, but what's the underlying thing behind this? Is this going to be something that, you know, 6 months from now, you're going to hear their CEO say something racist and you be like, well, what happened to that policy y'all put in place 6 months ago?
Don't just give us Band-Aids.
Yeah.
I think that's what we settle for Band-Aids.
I hate to say it, bro, but I think that's my final answer to that question. I think it's really just Band-Aids, bro, because it's just like everybody's doing like bam, 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 like that, and putting out statements. And what my parents always taught me, it's like, if you're doing what's right, you don't have to say you're doing what's right. You don't have to say, oh, I'm right, I obey the law, I do everything right. You don't have to do that if you're already doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like a hit dog holler. You know what I mean? Because if we talking about this, that, and the third, and then I get over here and I get mad, then you gonna already know. Oh, Legend must have did something. You know what I mean? Because we was just having a conversation. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just kind of one of those things where I think it may be a Band-Aid, but I think at the same time, if you look through Black America, we've always had to take what we've been given and then flip it into something else.
Exactly.
To know that it benefited us. You know what I mean?